Right, guys, as some of you might have heard, Lisa Nandy, the deluded Labour MP, wants to change our armed forces into a gender balanced human security force, or some complete nonsense like that. I mean, how did she ever think this is going to be popular with most of the country? Oh, yeah, her Twitter echo chamber full to the brim of lefty spunk trumpets and snivelling shitweasels likely told her it would. So off she went to spout it to the world, and I have to say, I absolutely love it. As if everyone didn't know before, it shows what an absolute prize winning prat that she is. I mean, it's that stupid, even Labour MPs have come out against her because I guess they can see her sinking the party more and more each day. It proves to me if Labour got in power, the country's ability to defend her people would be at great risk. As a matter of fact, I expect they would abolish the army without doubt. Now, obviously, she got mocked after this lunacy, and the Express have picked up on it, so let's check that one out. But first, remember to follow me on my other social media channels like BitChute and Gab that are linked in the video description as always. But let's get back to the prize-winning prat Lisa Nandy and the article from the Express, which headlines, Labour's Nandy mocked for backing calls to change army to gender-balanced security force. Lisa Nandy, Labour's Shadow Foreign Secretary, is embroiled in another wokery row today after backing the replacement of Britain's army forces with a gender-balanced force aimed at dampening down violence, which is obviously a bit rich coming from the Labour Party and the left in general, whose supporters are probably some of the most violent of all, let's be honest here. Goes on, the 41-year-old was the target of criticism by a fellow Labour MP and former Shadow Minister who dismissed the idea as nonsense, because obviously it is. If even Labour MPs can see it, then that should say it all to her. But obviously, Lisa Nandy don't care about that shit. She is just as out of touch and deluded as Jeremy Corbyn and the rest of them were before. It goes on, Miss Nandy helped launch a report by the Open Labour group which suggested a radical new approach to conflict resolution which apparently did not involve the use of actual violence. Miss Nandy, who is the MP for Wigan in Lancashire, has already stoked controversy recently after claiming Boris Johnson had stoked a culture war by condemning those responsible for defacing the statue of Winston Churchill, which stands in Parliament Square. Something I actually mentioned the other day in my video about Boris Johnson saying it's okay to be woke. Because obviously, according to Boris Johnson, it's okay to be like Lisa Nandy and push this bollocks, or maybe it is, just when he's talking about Biden, the absolute spineless jellyfish. It goes on, in her intervention, she said she had been inspired by the document. She told last month's launch, I hear it a lot on the Tory benches, the idea of a country that ruled the waves, because we fucking did, no matter how much you don't like it, love. Rule Britannia, I think that's given way to a nostalgia rooted in the history of the Second World War that somehow says that we're a small island nation that goes out punching above its weight, without ever really stopping to ask why on earth it is that we're punching at all. Well, in terms of some wars, there's definitely been reasons for punching. When it came to the last Labour government starting one, though, I don't think there was real reason for that, so maybe you should shut your fucking mouth. Wasn't it a Labour MP that spread fake news claiming about weapons of mass destruction that never fucking existed? Oh no, it wasn't, was it? It says, one of the things that I found really inspirational about this pamphlet is that I think it's based on the beliefs that I also share. Of course you fucking do. But the idea was given short shrift by Kevin Jones, Labour MP for North Durham and former Shadow Minister for the Armed Forces, who suggested the report was naive rubbish, which obviously it is. It is woke, lefty, Marxist bullshit that no one wants and complete rubbish. As a matter of fact, rubbish is actually more useful than that. You can recycle rubbish. This doesn't even deserve to be flushed down the toilet. Mr. Jones told the Mail on Sunday, our armed forces are there to defend us, sometimes in very challenging circumstances. As a party, Labour should be proud of them and defend them, not seek to turn them into some sort of peace corps that dampens down violence. Mr. Jones also said he had a key strategic interest in defending the military, as everyone fucking should. He explained, before we start talking this nonsense, we should remember that many of the recruits come from northern working class roots in constituencies that are or used to be Labour strongholds. Obviously, Lisa Nandy don't care about that though, does she? She only cares about what's popular on Twitter, and this woke bullshit will certainly be that. Kevin Jones, at least, is starting to realise that the Labour Party is fucking itself up. Probably far too little too late, if you ask me. It says the report, entitled A Progressive Foreign Policy for New Times, proposed a radical transformation of the nation's army, navy and air force. Because obviously it's coming from a radical bunch of tosspots that do this sort of shit. We should really expect no less from them. It states, consider a real shift in the nature of our services from the classic armed forces to what one might call human security service, which would include the military but would also include police, engineers, aid workers, health workers, and would be gender balanced and ethnically diverse. Because obviously, none of this is about protecting the country or anything like that. It's about us being woke as they can. Their central task would be to protect human security and, in case of war, to dampen down violence rather than intervene on one side or the other. So essentially, she wants us to become the United fucking Nations. How long before she's asking for every single British Army troop to be in UN colours? I expect that won't take very long. Now, obviously, this goes without saying as to be one of the most stupid things I've heard Labour come out with. It's certainly up there. And even Labour MPs are coming out calling her a dopey bin for it. Well, he didn't call her a dopey bin, but he might as well have. And let's be honest, it would be 100% spot on. But like I said earlier, if ever you needed proof that you cannot let the Labour Party get in government, this is certainly it. Which makes what the Tory Party are doing at the moment even worse, because they're just hemorrhaging votes every single day with the bullshit they're pulling. And obviously, Labour Party and the Ramonas out there will support it because they know when the election comes, all the people supporting Boris Johnson now will be gone after he's turned all of his own voters away. Though like I've said before, it won't be him running at the next election. He will fuck up the Tory Party for whoever's next.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors, slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires. And that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going, and we are glad to be going. We're off.